I am very sorry that I did not post last Saturday. My friends came down from Pittsburgh to come and visit, and I kind of lost track of everything, and also I felt like I needed to take like a week break away from everything. But don't worry, after this week everything is back on track, so no more week breaks. And yeah, but today I have a very long story time for you guys, so you guys know the drill. Go grab that basket of laundry, go to the room in your house that needs to be cleaned, and listen to the story time that I'm going to be telling you guys today. All right, so I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do my quick usual little rundown for everybody who is new here. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave. And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay, story time about how my boyfriend forced me to get an abortion. You know, after all the story times you guys have sent in, I have like no hope for women anymore. I swear. Alright, so a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school, and I grew up in a very religious town where my parents were super strict about following the rules of the church. Not only were they super strict about following the rules of the church, but they did everything in like an old-fashioned way. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She would take care of the kids, do all the house chores, put food on the table, while my dad went and worked his ass off. So my family and I were all sitting at the dinner table when my dad said that he had a huge and exciting announcement, which is weird because nothing exciting ever happened in our household or even in general, okay? But he pretty much said that we were going to be moving 3 towns over so he could fulfill his lifelong dream of being a priest. Yeah. Now, for a few years, my dad had been trying to complete this one program to become a priest at the local church in our town, but I guess the local church thing didn't end up working out because we had to move 3 towns over. And don't get me wrong, my siblings and I were super happy for my dad, but we were also super upset at the same time because now this meant that we had to leave all of our friends and family and start all over. So fast forward, we end up moving about 3 hours away from my hometown, and we did move during the summertime, which was nice because I feel like that gave us like a head start on making friends and everything like that, instead of just being thrown into some random school being the new kid. And I had met this one girl who we are going to call Avery. Avery's family was also really involved with the church, so it did make a lot of sense that her and I became best friends right away. And it was also super nice because she moved here at the beginning of the summer, so when she told me that she had a lot of friends, I had hope for myself. I had hope that I was going to make friends and everything like that. So I started to get involved with some summer activities, which revolved around a lot of charity work, but I was used to that because that's pretty much the only activities that I had back in my hometown. And you know, I met a lot of people, but I found out that none of them actually went to my school, so that was very disappointing. I actually found out that the school that I was going to was a very stuck up and preppy rich school, which didn't make sense because my family and I were not wealthy. So it was weird. I also ended up finding out that half of the people that I was going to school with were definitely not going to be as nice as the people that I met in the summertime. So this was giving me like a whole anxiety attack and a half. So fast forward to the last week of school, Avery asked me if I want to go to a back to school party. Now the back to school parties that I would usually go to back in my town, your parents would come with you, they would socialize with your friends' parents, and you would socialize with all your friends. So I asked her what time my parents should come, and she looks at me like I'm fucking dumb, and she goes, "You can't tell your parents." So I was super confused because I'd never lied to my parents ever in my fucking life because I never really had a reason to. There was nothing for me to really ever lie about. But anyways, when I asked her why, she was like, well, first of all, a guy is throwing the party. Second of all, there's gonna be drinking, drugs, and teenagers doing adult things, you know? And then she was like, your parents trust you, right? And of course I said yes, because like I said, never lied to them, never had a reason to. And after I told her that my parents trust me, she was like, okay, well, that's good. So just tell them that you're sleeping over my house and they shouldn't question it. Also, this will be a really good chance for you to meet people who are in our school. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? On the one hand, I really wanted to meet people who went to my school, and on the other hand, I didn't want to lie to my parents and betray their trust, because I have an older sister who got into a lot of trouble, and I feel like when you start lying, it's really hard to stop. So then I asked her, I'm like, okay, well, how do your parents feel about you doing all this shit, this bad shit? And she goes, well, they never find out because I don't tell them. What they don't know can't hurt them. So eventually I decided that I was going to also lie to my parents and say that I was sleeping over Avery's house. Obviously, they believed it, because now for the third time, like I said, never lied to them before, so they never had any reason not to trust me. So the day before the party, I had went to the mall to get something to wear, because I'm not gonna lie, everything that I had made me look like a fucking old lady, okay? I had floral print shirts and khakis. That's like literally the only thing that I ever fucking wore. Now, the only annoying thing was that I shared a room with my sister, so I had to worry about her being a little rat. So I decided that I was going to hide everything under my bed, because why would anybody go looking under my bed? That's just weird and creepy, you know? So fast forward, I'm packing my overnight bag to sleep over at Avery's, and I realized that the clothes that I had bought from the mall are missing, of course, because I can't just have one nice thing. Nope, why would that happen?
Why the fuck would that happen? It's a croissant.
Anyways, so like I said, go looking under my bed, the bag is missing, and then I hear a plastic bag swinging back and forth, so I look over to the doorway, and there my sister is just standing there like, missing something? So now I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be grounded for 900 lifetimes, because another thing, my dad was super strict about what we wore. I mean, hence the reason why I literally had grandma clothes. But he was super strict about us not wearing jeans, and especially not wearing jeans with holes in them. And what did that bag have in it? Jeans with holes in them. And then she comes over and gives me the bag, and I am super fucking confused, because she's like, don't worry, I'm not gonna tell them. But just a warning, that shirt in there is ugly as fuck, so you can just borrow one of mine. So at this point, I don't know whether I should trust her or not. I'm also thinking maybe I should tell my parents before she does, because my sister was very wishy-washy. Like, she would tell my parents something that one of us did to get herself out of trouble, and usually every time it worked. But I think the look on my face said it all, because she was like, dude, I went to enough parties and I've snuck out enough times to know what the fuck you're doing. And she goes, you're just in luck because you have me to actually make sure that you sneak out successfully, because I have been caught way too many fucking times. Which was very true, because my parents did not trust my older sister like at all, because she would go out and do what she called teenager things, which pretty much meant that she would go out, do drugs, disappear for 5 days with her friends, and then come back home like nothing ever happened. And I didn't really want to end up like her, but I also wanted to have a life. So it was pretty much listen to her or be kept in a cage my whole life. Also, Avery had told me all the things that she does, like, you know, she'll go out with her friends, she'll hang out with boys, and that's the kind of life that I wanted to live. So she gives me one of her shirts, and I make my way over to Avery's house. And Avery's parents would always go over to Avery's sister's house to watch their grandchild, and they would always do this on Saturdays, so this was perfect for her and I to sneak out. We didn't have to make any plans to jump out any windows or sneak out when everybody was asleep. And when we got to the party, it was fucking crazy. This was only shit that I had ever seen on TV. Kids were doing backflips off the roof into the pool. People were smoking, drinking. There was like people making out everywhere. And I was super excited. I was like, okay, I'm at a party. Also, half these kids were literally juniors and seniors, and Avery and I were only in our sophomore year of high school, so I felt like super cool. Like I was hanging out with all the older kids, you know. And I had a super good time for this being my first time drinking and being at a party. I mean, I had like wine with my dinner sometimes, you know, on the holidays, but let's be real, I was only 15 years old, so this shit was all new to me, especially because I was like low-key teacher's pet with my parents, you know, goody two-shoes over here. I would say really the only embarrassing thing that happened that night was we were all playing Put a Finger Down, and every time it came for me to, you know, say something, I would like choke and Avery would have to step in and like save the fucking day. And also I was like the only one at the end with all of my fingers up. I mean, even Avery had like 5 fingers down, and her parents or my parents are kind of the same, so I was like shook. So fast forward to the first day of school. It was the same bullshit that they did every year. The first day of school, you went around, you told everybody your name, you told everybody what you did over the summer, but instead of everybody saying that they did charity work or community shit, it was, oh, like I spent the summer in the Hamptons, or my family and I went and traveled the world this summer. So when the teachers would ask me what I did over the summer, I said that I had just moved here from East Fuck. And when the teacher asked if there was like a specific reason that I moved, I told them that my dad had became the priest at the local church, which, to be honest, I should have just said that I moved and did nothing else this fucking summer, because that led to everybody being super weird, like really fucking weird. And they would, instead of just memorizing my name, they would literally call me, oh, the priest's daughter, because I guess that everybody's parents had went to church and the children would only go sometimes, so they weren't really committed to the church like my family was. So to be honest, I literally just looked like a fucking freak. That being said, there was like these group of kids who were like super fucking mean. They like, I would call them bullies. They bullied me, okay? They would make weird jokes and pass me mean notes during class, and there was one day where I showed up and my locker was literally covered in upside down crosses and little devil cartoons. You know, it's comical, but it's not, okay? Like, it was fucked up. But anyways, out of all of the assholes who went to my school, I did find a few people that I was able to become friends with, a few people besides Avery. And I'm not gonna lie, at first when I had became friends with Avery, I really did think that I would be able to be friends with all the people that she was friends with, but Avery and I were super different from each other, okay? Like, she was more okay with breaking the rules than I was. Like, she would party, smoke, drink, have sex. So I just decided to like low-key keep my distance from all of that, and like we just pretty much had an understanding about our friendship, okay? Like, she would do whatever she wanted, but whenever we were together, we would like stray away from all that stuff. So literally all of the people that I met that I was now friends with were in the after school arts program. So I decided that I would join too. Also, it was like one of the only after school activities that my parents would let me join, because my dad said that sports weren't for girls and it wasn't good to do sports, like be in that competitive nature. Fucking weird. And also he said that I shouldn't be doing any after school activities. Instead, I should be focusing on what I can do for my community and just a bunch of that bullshit. But thankfully my mom stepped in and said that it would be good for me to do this to keep me out of trouble, whatever that means. But it was nice, because I want to say by the second month in this school, I actually felt like I wasn't the new kid anymore. So that was super exciting. And I think the reason why my parents like they also put me in this tutoring program, right? Because like I said, they wanted to keep me out of trouble, mainly because they weren't sure about this new town. They knew that some of the kids weren't like everybody else in my old town, and they just didn't want me falling into drugs or other shit like that, pretty much being like my sister. So they had put me in this program for tutoring, and not to toot my own horn, I was I did super good in school, okay? But anyways, so I was doing this after school tutoring program and I was paired up with this kid named Oliver. And he was a senior. And the thing that I liked about Oliver is he wasn't a douchebag like all of the other boys in my school, which was super nice. We loved that. But he was also really sweet and he seemed like he had a good head on his shoulders, okay? But one of the main things that like made me super attracted to him was the fact that he was nice to me and like fucking mean as hell to every other girl that would try to talk to him. So I was like, felt special, you know. Anyways, he was super outgoing. He was involved in a lot of school activities. So to me, that was also attractive because that meant that he had goals, you know, like he seemed like he was very motivated to, you know, have a good future for himself and everything like that, period. Well, the one day after I was done tutoring him, by the way, I would, like, after school, this program was in the library, so all the kids and everything met in there. It wasn't like you went to anybody's house after school to do the tutoring. Anyways, like I said, after I was done tutoring him, he said that he was having a little bit of trouble with some of the English stuff that we had went over. So he asked if he could FaceTime me so we could go over some of the other flashcards. Now, the most embarrassing part about this all was the fact that I had a fucking flip phone that was only used for emergencies. So when I told him that, he went out to his car and grabbed his old phone that he was using as an iPod, and he was like, here, you can take this, but I felt like super bad about it, so I was like, no, it's fine. I'll ask my sister if I can use her phone. I'll just FaceTime you off of there. You know, here, give me your number. So I told my sister that I needed to use her phone, and thankfully, you know, she was like, oh, period, sis, like, here's my phone, call your man. And I called him and there was no response. So at this point, I wasn't even sure if he was gonna call me back because ever had a guy ask to call me or anything like that. But around 7:30, he texted my sister asking if she could give the phone to me and if we could FaceTime. So we spent about 2 hours on the phone, and I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, okay? We spent like 10 minutes going over flashcards, and then after that we spent like 2 hours just talking about random shit, getting to know each other. So fast forward a few weeks, he had eventually asked me to go on a date, and I was super nervous about this because my dad was super against my sister and I dating, okay? Like, we were allowed to hang out with boys but not date them. That was like a no-no. Don't fucking do that. But after I thought about it for a little bit, I did remember this one time where my dad let my sister go on a date whenever she was younger than me. So when I asked him, I made sure to bring that up as like a little manipulation tactic. Like, okay, but you let, you know, my older sister go on a date and she was younger than me. That sort of thing. Because I feel like it's only fair that he lets me go on a date. So after an hour of debating with my parents, they finally decided that they were gonna let me go on this fucking date, as they should. But they were like, okay, well, you have to go where we say you're allowed to go, and you have to call us every half hour to check in. It was fucking ridiculous. But he was such a freaking gentleman. He picked me up, he paid for dinner, we had a super good time. At the end of the night, he kissed me on the cheek. I literally just thought that, like, I was in love with this kid, okay? Now, the only reason why my sister and I weren't allowed to really go on any dates, okay, is because the one night my sister asked to go on a date, my parents were, like, super hesitant at first, but they said, yeah. She ended up not coming home for 3 days. So they said she was kidnapped. She wasn't. And because of that, before my next date with Oliver, my parents said